Toys R Us sold about $11.5 billion of toys in its last full year. It had the brand, the stores, the name every kid knew, and it still went broke. Most people say Amazon killed it. That is not really what happened. The numbers tell a different story, and it is a story that plays out in small businesses every single week. Let me show you where the cash actually died. For decades, Toys R Us was the giant. By the early 2000s, it was under pressure from Walmart and Target on price, and a young company called Amazon on convenience. That part is true. But in 2005, something happened that mattered far more than any competitor. A group of investors took the company private in a leveraged buyout worth about $6.5 billion. Here is the part that decided everything. In a leveraged buyout, the debt used to buy the company gets placed on the company itself. So Toys R Us walked out of that deal carrying roughly $5 billion in debt that it did not have before. The business did not get $5 billion of new stores or new technology. It got $5 billion of new bills. That debt cost about $400 million a year in interest, every year. Before a single toy was sold at a profit, before a single store was fixed up, before a single dollar went into the website, $400 million came off the top and went to the lenders. On the surface, Toys R Us looked fine. The stores were busy. The company was generating real operating profit. But profit on paper is not cash in the bank. After that $400 million in interest, there was almost nothing left. No cushion. No reserve. And most important, nothing to reinvest. So while Amazon was building the best online store in the world, and Walmart and Target were remodeling, Toys R Us could not keep up. Not because leadership did not see it coming. They saw it. They simply had no cash to respond with, because the cash was spoken for years in advance. In late 2017, one soft holiday season and a few nervous suppliers were all it took. A business that big had no room to absorb a bad quarter. By 2018, the U.S. stores were gone. Around 735 of them. They did not stop selling toys. They ran out of cash. Now let me be straight with you, because I am not going to sell you a fairy tale. A cash flow advisor would not have beaten Amazon all by themselves. The competition was real. But here is what the numbers were screaming, years before the end, to anyone actually watching the cash instead of the profit. 1. When your debt service eats nearly all of your operating cash, you have no ability to adapt. And adapting is the whole game. That is not a slow problem. That is a countdown. 2. A 13-week and 13-month forward cash view would have shown long in advance that there was no free cash to reinvest. This was not a surprise that arrived in 2017. It was visible in the structure from 2005. 3. Start with the end in mind. The owners of that buyout started with their end, a financial return. Nobody started with the business's end, a company that could still fight in 10 years. And here is why I am telling you this. Because I do not work with $11 billion companies. I work with businesses your size. This exact disease shows up at $2 million in revenue. It looks like 3 equipment loans, a maxed out line of credit, and a merchant cash advance you took to cover a slow month. On the profit and loss statement, you are making money. But after all that debt service, there is nothing left. One slow quarter from the edge. So here is the one question I would ask you today. Do you know what percentage of your cash goes to debt service every month? Most owners do not. And that one number, more than almost any other, tells you whether you are building a business or just feeding one. If that question landed, that is what my work is about. Finding the cash that is trapped in your business before it becomes the thing that ends it. I put a lot of this into my book, and I am happy to look at your numbers and tell you honestly where you stand. No pitch. Just the truth in your own numbers. Watch the cash, not just the profit. It is almost always the cash.